I have up next Dustin DiTommaso, and Dustin heads up our behavior change discipline at MadPow. He is a fantastic human, and he immerses himself in the problem space so much that he's actually done personal experiments to prove that the behavior change methods that he's working on work. So self-experimentation, he knows more about behavior change than anyone I've ever met, motivational psychology, and he is always open to sharing his ideas. So I'm looking forward to his presentation, and please let him know if you have any questions after, because designing for change, especially behavior change, is so difficult, but we need to make it happen. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon, HXR. How's everybody doing? Great. Yeah, sort of great. As Amy mentioned, I head our behavior change practice at MadPow. I have a fantastic team that we work in. And what we do is we research and partner with clients, organizations, government agencies, startups, to look at both research and implementation and evaluation of design and technology to facilitate behavior change and human flourishing. And we do this every day on a variety of projects. And when we're thinking about interventions and getting people to uptake an intervention, to be engaged, to be part of it, conversations always come down to motivation. Everyone wants to know how to motivate the people that they would like to create an intervention for, the people they would like to do specific things in their health. I love motivation. It's what gets me up in the morning every day, out to the office. It's probably what gets you up in the morning every day, hopefully also out to the office or wherever you may be going. It's energy, it is life, it is what is in us, right? It is an essential resource for everyday living. When we think about motivation, in those discussions, what we find is that many people have different opinions, different ideas, different thoughts about what motivation is. So what is motivation? Well, simply, we think of motivation as all those processes that give behavior its energy and its direction, right? Not only the power and the force, but where it is headed. And primarily, people on the street, psychologists, anyone you would meet, think of motivation as a unitary concept, right? You can either have more motivation or less motivation. And everyone in this room would like people to have more motivation for the things that they would like them to be doing, right? But amount of motivation is not the thing that is the most critical. That quantity is less important than the quality of motivation. We don't hear people talk about quality of motivation all that often, but the quality of motivation leads to quality of behavior, and quality of behavior is what we are after for sustained, ongoing, lasting, meaningful change. Let me put it this way. You can be moved into action by somebody brandishing a stick, right? They can say, hey, do this or else I'm going to whip you. That's definitely motivation, right? But it is not the best quality of motivation. It's not the best kind of motivation. It is a controlling motivation. And when you are controlled, within you is a sense of pressure. You feel that you're being seduced, coerced. It leads to not a lot of effort, poor outcomes, less sustain, and a lower quality of well-being. But there's another kind of motivation. That's the kind of motivation that is inside you, ready to come out when you're about to engage in things that are interesting, that you enjoy, and that align with your personal values and your beliefs. At the time of doing a behavior, you fully endorse the doing of that behavior. There is volition, there is choice, and that endorsement that we talk about. That's the kind of motivation that we're after. Prototypical example is children playing, right? Nobody needs to beat their kids with a stick to get them to play, right? That's that intrinsic motivation right there inside of them. So you have this controlled motivation on one side and autonomous motivation on the other, this intrinsic motivation that is inside you. Autonomy is greater than control when we think about designing for behavior change. One more way to think about it. Up until the late 70s, this was the predominant model of behavior, right? Skinnerism, behaviorism, a rat in the cage, right? Being manipulated by outside forces to perform a behavior, right? And this kind of motivation, I won't argue that it doesn't work. It has strength in predicting behavior. However, there's a problem. In the real world, people have choices. They can escape the cage in which they are in. Every one of you right now in this room listening very politely, you can be looking at Twitter, you can be playing Angry Birds, you can get up and leave. You are free to leave this talk if you don't enjoy it. You can escape this cage, right? You have a choice. And we can't keep people in cages, and we can't control all the choices that people can possibly make within their day-to-day environments. So we think about this shift, right? This shift from external events, external controlled motivation, to internal intrinsic motivation. And that shift has been called the Copernican turn in motivational thinking by Richard Ryan of the Rochester University, one of the founders of self-determination theory. Richard and Ed and Jeff Williams, who is here too, have done a lot of work on validating empirically these constructs of motivation, this construct of quality motivation, and the difference in how it predicts and sustains behavior. To do that, the theory states that people will engage and continue to engage in activities that manage to fulfill three universal psychological needs. The needs for competence, which is a sense of mastery over our environment. The need for autonomy, which is that willing, volitional endorsement of the behaviors that you are doing. And the need for relatedness, which is a meaningful connection with those around you, right? To care for and be cared for by others in your environment. And these needs fit into a whole host of other needs that we have, like our learned social needs and our physiological needs that we have, right? It's like vitamin C. I may not consciously value vitamin C, but if I don't get any of it, I'm likely to get scurvy if I'm sailing around on my pirate ship, right? We need these to function and to thrive. So for us as designers, as people creating experiences, as creating interventions, we have a job. We want to design systems that interact with people to satisfy their needs. So as a call to action, thinking about designing needs-satisfying experiences. How do we satisfy individuals' needs for competence, autonomy, and relatedness? We can think about those constructs, right? From controlled motivation on one side, the whip, and autonomous motivation on the other side. It's not just those two. There's a continuum within them. External, all the way over on your right side, is about that rat in the cage. That's compliance. Intrinsic, fun, enjoyment, interest, all the way over on the other side. We want to think about reducing those controls and increasing those autonomous motivation. That introjected, right? External control, internal controlled motivation. That's when we feel guilty about what we're going to do, or we feel pressured from the inside or by others to do certain behaviors. Like going to college to be a lawyer when all you wanted to do was be a rock star, right? We do it because of our parents. We've all experienced this kind of internal pressure, right? We want to start to think about how do we move people from those external controls into internal volitional motivation. If we move a little bit to the right, we have identified motivation. That's when people start to see the value in the behaviors that you're asking them to do, right? They see the benefit in what they are doing. Thinking about running, I may not particularly enjoy running, but I know it is good for my health, right? So I will do it. Many health behaviors are not going to be on that fun side, right? Taking medication, checking your glucose. These are not things you're going to find a heck of a lot of interest or enjoyment in. We want to get them to find that importance. We move a little bit deeper, a little bit more internal, and we have integrated, right? This is when it ties into the other constructs and beliefs that a person has. It's the difference between someone who is a runner, someone who runs, and someone who is a runner, right? The person who is a runner is out every day, short shorts in the snow, in the rain, it doesn't matter. It is part of their identity. They are one with running. This is where we'd love to get people moving to in terms of health behavior change. And again, you might get, I had a joke in there and I blew it. But you can clap anyway for blowing the joke. Yeah, thanks. The joke was that introjected, that guilt. I could feel really bad about myself that this talk was lousy, unless, of course, you guys all applauded and made me feel better about my introjects. Anyway, you could get lucky. 2 claps. I'm going to fail that joke every time. Stumble bump, Amy Cueva. Yeah, yep. You could enjoy it and you could dance, right? So this is where fun and play and games can come in to provide a little bit of engagement. But we think of those more as engagement strategies than what actually changes the behavior, the active mechanisms. So autonomous motivation greater than controlled motivation. Again, chosen in volitional behaviors performed for their inherent value or interest, as well as controlled, pressured, coerced, performed for a separable outcome, like a reward or something extrinsic to oneself. So how do we do it? There are some principles we like to apply to any interventions that we design. These principles, I think, hold up pretty well for lots of different kinds of digital design, games, for example, marketing techniques, things like that. But for designing for behavior change, these tend to work really well. When we think about supporting autonomy, we want to make sure that what we're designing is relevant to the individuals. Thinking about providing a clear and meaningful rationale for the things you're asking other people to do, right? That facilitates their self-endorsement of those behaviors. We do those every day. In our interpersonal relationships, it's polite. I ask you to do something, here's why. That carries through to digital design as well. We want to give them choice, right? We want to have a sense of choicefulness, encourage them to follow their own decisions, their own choices, find the things that they would like to do on their path to change. If we think about weight loss, for example, or chronic condition management, I may not be interested or ready to change my diet, but I might go on a few walks around the block here and there. Rather than being dictated or prescribed, offer that sense of choice. Let me choose the things that I'm interested in doing and work from there. Avoidance of control, thinking about not using directives in your design and in the language and the asking of the things you want people to do. Reducing the amount of shoulds, haves, and musts in your copy, right, to support that autonomy so they can feel that those behaviors come from within. Same with using external rewards, cash, prizes, points, badges, things like this. Reducing those helps to support that autonomy. Designing for competence, setting clarifications and realistic expectations around goals, right? And around behavior-linked outcomes. Ensuring that people know the benefit, the value of doing a particular behavior and what it might achieve for them, right? To build that sense of competence. The idea of optimal challenge. When activities are too difficult, people bump their head on it, drop out. When they're too simple, you get bored and you drop out. We want to have people in that nice challenge. And that challenge should grow as people's skills grow, right? Behavior change is a skills-building effort. So if that challenge can grow and scaffold as their skills go, keeping them in that sweet spot, that's a perfect place to be with your activities. If you can use machine learning, rules engines to do that dynamically, fantastic. Building those skills, as we talked about, let them practice, let them fail, let them experiment, but use that as fuel to learn and to grow, and again, to boost their competence. And feedback, relevant, clear, meaningful information feedback on progress and performance in a non-judgmental way, right? Not judging, making it be matter of fact, and thinking about that as dynamically as possible. We don't even have theories yet to talk about the speed in which we can provide feedback in digital environments, right? Momentary, moment-to-moment interactions that we can track through technology, minute by minute, computational models of behavior change. We can design to work with every input having an output. Feedback has a couple other functions beyond just information and progress. We want it to provide positive emotion, so people feel like, I want to do more. We want it to provide a sense of increased ability, so people feel like, I can do that, I can do more. And we want to provide a strong call to action to show that there are more things to do, right? So I want to do more, I can do more, and hey, look, there's more for me to do. That creates a nice virtuous cycle of feedback to keep people engaged in the systems, in the activities that they want to do, as long as you're letting them do it in an autonomy-supportive way. Designing for relatedness, creating that sense of connection among people within your platform or within your products. Help them enrich their relationships through the work that you do, not only in the product, but in the real world as well. How can you make better connections out here in the physical environment through your digital behavior change platforms? It's a huge area to explore and to capitalize on. Collaboration versus competition. Creating a sense of collaborative goals, goal setting and achievement, so that my success depends on your success, depends on your success. We're in this together, and what we contribute goes to a greater whole. Much more effective than competition, which is a model we see much more prevalent, right? Compete, compete, compete. Think about collaboration and using that to tie that sense of relatedness. Making it personal, as we talked about, tailored. We know that tailored interventions work better than generalized interventions. If it feels like it is speaking or relevant to me, that interface, that app, that product has a personality, whether we like it or not. The words that we use in an app convey a sense of personality. That has an impact on both initiation and maintenance of change. And one thing that helps is, again, that empathic voice and tone, right? Knowing that person, understanding it, and responding as if you care rather than that set of directives. So these needs are also interrelated. They combine with each other to provide that sense of willing endorsement and engagement and help people internalize the values for those behaviors. I've got 2 minutes. I can quickly show you how this works in some, I've got 3 minutes, how this quickly works on some apps. A product that we designed and we now have acquired at MadPow is a mobile behavior change game to combat sedentary behavior within the workplace environment, built on using these principles in design. So basically what it does is it gives you a series of starting out at 2-minute breaks at intervals during your time, during your day. It will scrape your calendar, look for the opportune moments to insert 2-minute breaks. Instead of just saying, get up and do this, walk or jump or jog or whatever, we give you a bank of activities, cardio, strength, stretching, things you are both comfortable and confident in doing within the workplace, right? Exercising your autonomy. The choice is yours. If you don't like an activity, you'll never see it. Putting it only on the days, the times, the spaces where you want to engage, right? If weekends are off limits, if my commute is off limits, probably, then you can set that and let it know. The number of breaks per day, you can set that span. Those preferences are yours and yours alone. We may give you suggestions about increasing your time over time to get you to recommended guidelines, but the choice is always yours. We ask before we move. Oh yeah, I'm looking at 2 screens. Feedback, again, we give a little bit of positive encouragement when things are going well. We give neutral encouragement when folks aren't there. That sense of competence can be enhanced through progress, but not just progress and progress bars. Thinking about this concept of streaks. What was my absolute very best day? What were my records? Where did I shine the most? Those can become implicit targets to achieve for later down the road. And to tie that sense of relatedness in, there's a game that is a social game, collaborative game, as well as being able to invite people I care about most, my friends, my loved ones, my family, because as much as we love our coworkers, they may not be the people we are the most closely related to. So allowing them to bring people they care about into the app and play along as well. Does really well in pilot testing. AHA, 3-month experiment. Basically, 500 people, 250 got the app, 250 got business as usual, which is an email from HR that tells you how you should be moving more. 2/3 get up to take more breaks. 80% were engaged over that taking breaks over that entire time. 2 out of 3 would recommend it to others. And when you test these, you'll see, I'll skip that one, but you'll see that those principles come out in qualitative reviews as well, right? So it speaks to competence. I went from planking to kettlebells to hiking. 2 minutes is a gateway drug. I can do it. Great team builder. Made me connect more with my coworkers. Maybe we'll do things together. I'm out of time, but remember, motivation matters. Autonomous motivation is person-centered. It's how we want people to change. It's what works. Please consider that in your next behavior change interventions. Thank you.